The share market at the moment, it seems to have stabilised somewhat. It was a few rocky patches last week. Is this a continuation of the up, down, up, down, up, down that we're probably going to continue for the next little while at least?
Good morning, Pete. Look, it's part of it. I think you've got to look at it again from what I actually think the best description I've seen of it so far, which was actually the head of Moelis over in the US. And his description of it is that if you look at the S&P 500, he describes them as the best 500 companies on the planet. And I probably don't disagree with him on that comment in terms of what they are. They have incredible size. Their operations are global. They have access to liquidity. So they have access to cash like no other businesses in the world. And the ASX 200 is probably similar to that. Not all of them, but most of them are on the same sort of, ability to get through, cycles that we're going through. Now, this is obviously different. We are going through a health crisis rather than an economic one, but in the same sort of sentence, I can very clearly show you that they are in the same boat, even with this scenario where they are able to get through these kind of, movements much, much better. So maybe the equity market isn't necessarily the best way to sort of answer your question. What is the way to answer your question is, that private mum and dad corner store, that private startup, that small and medium enterprise that is basically supporting, less than 15 employees. They're the ones that are going to hurt the most from this. They're the ones that unfortunately aren't going to come back in some respects. And what's going on down here in Victoria is a clear example that we are not through this. And not only that, the business pain that is going to come from the coronavirus is not only still being felt, but will be felt for many, many months to come. And unfortunately, there was, growing risk that more and more firms unfortunately won't come back.
The Fed wants more action to take on the virus rather than the economy, it would seem, at the moment. I guess that makes sense, but why is that?
Way to answer that one, Pete, is testimony from Jay Powell yesterday was absolutely astonishing in terms of what he was doing. And why I say it in that respect is that he is astounded by the US economics. He basically said it, they said, we are so far ahead of what we expected. We are doing incredibly, incredibly well. But in the exact same sentence, he said, but my biggest concern and the biggest caveat to all this is that the virus clearly isn't under control. And that's basically what his wording was. And until we get it under control, yes, we've had this sort of 6 to 8 week recovery, much, much faster than anybody ever expected. But that will go straight out the window if we do not get into control, particularly with what's going on in Texas, Arizona, Nevada. Very, very high rich oil parts. And Texas is the one to highlight here. Their Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index came out after having a record drop in April, a record bounce in May. It had almost another record decline in June. And that is on the back of that expansion of second waves in there. And he is clearly showing that until we can somehow contain the virus, the US economic story that's currently going on, in his view, isn't going to be sustained. And what he also pointed out is that they will be there, along with the fiscal side. Monetary policy will be there for the US. But his key point is get the virus contained, then worry about the economics.
Yeah, all right, Evan Lucas, covering everything for us this morning. Appreciate it, Evan. Thank you. We'll talk to you again next week.